All right, let's all rise for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, sorry we're late, but we had a lot, everything just came into discussion and it took a little longer than we had, so we're here. We have no appointments, so we'll go right on to public comments. Do you want to make a public comment at the moment? Go ahead.
I have a few questions, Mr. Chairman. Specifically, will you be allowing public comment during number 6, correspondence, tonight? Do you have any plans for that?
I don't have any plans for it because I'm not sure. It's just a response letter, I believe.
Okay. And very quickly here, will you be enforcing or trying to stay to the 3-minute limit on comments for the public?
Well, I'd like to stay to the 3-minute. That's just what it is.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Then I would like to make a statement.
Okay.
Then I'll try to keep it to 3 minutes. Speaking of the under correspondence, I want to speak to that DRA response to the UBCA.
Okay.
And the statement I'd like to make is that except for acknowledgement of that information, any discussion, contemplation, or decision-making on that subject would be inconsistent with decisions that have already been made based on our attorney's advice. It would be a disservice to the taxpayers to use any more town resources, such as town administrators' time or attorney time, on this matter. I have every sympathy for these folks, but these folks need to engage their own resources and come back to the town at a future time to gain support for this project. And until then, fundraising is available to all nonprofits, and I've extended an invitation from the TV channel to help them with that. And thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board for having an opportunity to address the board today on this matter. It's a pleasure to always come before a board or a committee in Wakefield because of a well-deserved reputation for civility. We get certainly a group that can disagree without being disagreeable. I've taken the opportunity to review as much as I can. I was being entertained by the newspaper articles. Caught my eye, and so I've reviewed what I can, I think, and have established what I think the board should focus on in terms of where, quote unquote, you go from here. I only just recently read the letter from the Department of Revenue, but it certainly lays out the fact that it doesn't necessarily have to be a done deal, that there's a process for which you can ask them to reconsider, and then of course there's a process for a formal appeal. And the issue, if you choose to pursue it, will clearly turn on what Attorney Sager tried to get at, or did get at in his letter. Did a nice job of saying that a public purpose can override a private purpose. I'm going to have to sit down if I could. They could override a private purpose, and if it is a strong enough public purpose, it can carry the day even if there is incidental benefit on the private side. And so the real question is whether or not the state can be convinced that all of the different public pros of having this dam reconstructed would reach that level of having overridden what might normally be prohibited for being for private purposes only. And when we start talking about the things that were brought up, the things that were discussed at the deliberative session and so forth, The public purpose is very strong. Fire suppression, if you look at the amount of money we spend on fire suppression and fire engines and just fire in general, it's a big deal and it affects everybody. And having an entire village with really no plan in place for any kind of a major fire, other than try to make sure the other surrounding buildings don't burn down, there simply isn't a water supply. So it's a hugely public purpose and a huge benefit, and therefore I believe a reconsideration by the state would ultimately carry the day. The other thing I want to touch on is the role that the participants in any kind of a debate like this play and how they might change as
Bill,
the issue works its way through.
would somebody be willing to give Bill would you be willing to give your 3 minutes to him? Because I think he's about done, but just so.
I'll try not to be.
If you say that, go ahead.
Okay, I won't be much longer, but with respect to the selectmen, it's very appropriate in doing recommendations for the warrant and all of the different issues that you guys face to voice your opinions and try to sway opinion to what you think is right and wrong and best for the town. However, once you get through the article, there was nothing wrong with the article. It was tried to be amended and that failed. And the article went to the voters and it passed pretty substantially. At that point in time, your function changes, really. You have a fiduciary responsibility to take up the case of the voters. From that point forward, from the time that election was over, it's your job to back up your voters, because that's really what you're here to do, or your residents. And so whether or not you personally are still on the fence as to whether it's a good idea really is pretty irrelevant in terms of how you proceed going forward, because you have an ethical obligation, as does your attorney, to try to carry the day for the voters that voted in favor of this. And so as you work your way through, it's no longer relevant whether or not you thought it was a good idea or a bad idea. The only relevant factor is the voters of this town voted for it, and we are going to do, obviously within legal bounds, the best we can to satisfy their wishes.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else? Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I just was curious, when we, at the deliberative session, when we discussed this, we had a discussion about this one and another petition article about the constitutionality of it. I don't remember the aspect coming up of, I remember Rick Sayer saying that what we'd have to do was determine after it was voted on whether or not it was constitutional, whether or not we could spend the money. I don't remember him saying that once that was on the ballot and if it passed, then the taxpayers would be on the hook to battle like DRA or any other agencies in order to get this money approved or expended. I'm kind of surprised that responsibility falls on us. And then I think that also when Mr. Denley mentions, you're supposed to support and protect the taxpayers, and I think that's what that part of the Constitution, the state Constitution, I think does that. And I think that as much as taking up the cause for this nonprofit, I think you also have a responsibility to follow the Constitution, which I think is what DRA was getting at. And I think in their letter they said it's too late to pay this year anyway, regardless of whether the appeal is successful or not. But the thing I was thinking of is that I guess one thing that came to mind was this is a big fire issue now. And when it originally came up in 2015, this group went to the Conservation Commission for a letter to use to get grant funding, which seems strange to me that if you have a concern about fire protection, fire suppression, having water ready, I mean, I would think that you would go to the selectmen and the fire department rather than going to the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission's been real active pushing this. They already spent $7,000 on 2 studies for, I think it was one part of this 6-point plan that the nonprofit's working on at this point. I haven't been able to see the $7,000 plans that we paid for yet. I've been trying to get them for a month, but they haven't come through. And the other thing I would mention is that the Conservation Commission could write a check for this project tomorrow because they're sitting on $177,789.25 right now. Unrestricted, they have $78,000. So it would be easy for the Conservation Commission to just write out a check for $34,500 and finance this, right now. So just a couple observations.
Thanks for that opinion.
To take the last point first and work backwards, the Conservation Commission heard us say that we were interested in things like fire suppression and also preservation of the pond for environmental reasons and so forth. But they rejected that part of the logic in favor of the two portions of the work that we have to do in advance of actually reconstructing the dam. The two portions that they agreed to fund are portions that will give them material that they would want anyhow as the Conservation Commission. So it was a direct quid pro quo. It was the only thing that they found it legitimate to help with, to assist with. As a matter of fact, one of the two projects was really only partially funded by the Conservation Commission. We've been coming up with the rest of the money ourselves as an organization. So just to say, the $78,000 won't do us all very much good because they took the time to consult with Concord. I don't know exactly where or how, but reconstructing a dam in and of itself is not something that they could do with that kind of money. That's not conservation in the usual sense. But finding out what the watershed is like, what the water supply is like in the Branch River in our town was something that was legitimate to fund. To work back up the line to some of the things that were just brought up, as Mr. Denley said, the responsibility that the selectmen are left with after the town voters have voted yes on this warrant article is to see whether you can fulfill what the town voters asked for, which was yes. Not to see whether there's any other way you can discuss with us as a group necessarily of why you should go ahead. You should go ahead because the voters said you should go ahead. Apropos of going ahead, the letter that came back from the DRA to us, which we passed on to you folks, says very explicitly that the appeal authority, the first, an ordinary request to reconsider the disallowance, that rests with the Board of Selectmen, and an actual appeal rests with the Board of Selectmen. If we're to follow the logic Mr. Denley came up with, those are the avenues you really should be investigating because the voters, not the group of people represented by the 5, 6, 7 of us here that have shown up, but the voters actually asked for the warrant article. They actually passed it. I guess maybe I'll stop right there because I know I've gone over 3 minutes.
Not yet.
Oh, close.
10 seconds.
I was close.
Done now.
Well, Willis, David?
One of my favorite movies of all time is called Paper Chase, and it's about some young people in law school. And one of the scenes in law school, the lawyers are standing up, and after they've read the facts of a case, they represent one side. And right in mid-sentence, the instructor would snap his fingers, which meant that the lawyer had to switch to the other side. So while he could be in this position and making this heartfelt argument, instantly he would go to the other side and argue the other side of it. If I had a land dispute problem and I hired an attorney, he could just as well represent my point of view, or he could have been hired by my neighbor to represent their point of view. I think what's really flawed in this system is the decision was with the voters, not with the selectmen, and certainly not with the town attorney. His job would be to defend the town if somebody came and sued the decision that or had some dispute with what was done. But I really think, as Bill Denley said, and also Dick, very, very good at representing this, The lawyer should be representing the voters, and the decision was made by them. I don't think it's his decision, because he could go either way, like any lawyer. I thought of taking his letter, which we finally got after I spoke at the previous meeting. I could take his letter and word process it to take the same facts and come to a different conclusion, and hand it to him and say, couldn't you have come to this conclusion? Or couldn't any lawyer have come to the conclusion that it is the public interest to have the fire suppression and the waterfront is incidental? What he did, being on this side of the argument, I think from the beginning, before there was even a vote, he took it and turned it around so that the decision was made on the basis of who gets the waterfront. And he just neglected to address the issue of fire suppression. If there was a fire anywhere up to DePrizio or anywhere along 153, they would want to fill their tankers right there. There's so many structures, I haven't had time to count them. But Farmington would be coming from Sunrise Lake, where they would get their water. But where would Wakefield be coming from? And of course, if you're not going way up the hill, the best way to fight a fire is direct pumping. We have someone here whose house was saved by direct pumping from Level Lake. And I don't think it would have been saved if they were hauling water with a tanker. So if you have a good source of water in Union with a dry hydrant, and you can hook your attack engine up where the fire is, supply engine right there where the dry hydrant is, you have an unlimited supply of water. Every firefighter will tell you the whole game is about putting a lot of water on the fire. Thank you.
Good. Anybody else for the moment?
I just mentioned one thing that Mr. House mentioned, the quid pro quo for the hydrologic and hydraulic surveys and the topographical surveys, that the Conservation Commission spent $7,000 on those two studies. And I guess that part of the rationale was those would be available to the Conservation Commission. And I contacted the DES, and they have those on file over at their office in Concord, and they already sent them to me for free. So the Conservation Commission would have had them available in any case just by contacting DES, because they already have them on file over there.
Okay. Want to make a comment? I'd like to make one comment, and it's just a comment. You know, what I'd like to say is, on behalf of the ones that are opposed and the ones that are there, I believe in the voter there. I really do. I think when you vote for something, that's the democratic, you know, that's the democracy that we have, right? When you vote for something, and I'll use as, you know, voting for these curtains. We vote for these curtains. It was put on the warrant article or whatever, and the town people voted for it. But if somebody came in and said, them are not going to last us a year, you know, some professional, I guess, would you listen to them and go against the voters? That's kind of like what we did, right? We kind of listened to a professional. So my question to you is that professional always right? Could he be wrong? So in that case, and I'm not going to ask for an answer, I'm just giving my statement. So in that case, would it be best, where there's so much passion involved in this, and there's so many voters that voted, would we be best to have a second opinion? That's all I want to say. All right? So I'm going to move on for a moment. Public safety sprinkler bids. The last session, I took what we had, I went back, we evaluated it completely, and it's as good or better than what we expected. I did have just one brand, color paint. I wanted it white instead of, so it could rust quicker. I wanted it white, had the color on it, and that was all accepted. So in our conversation, we only voted for us to review it. We didn't vote to accept it. So I would like to put it back on the table to get a motion to accept the sprinkler bid. I can't remember the name of the company. Tony, do you have that?
Life safety?
Life Safety Sprinkler Company for the public safety building that we accepted for $85,000 and something. I'm not sure the exact number.
85,000.
85,000. Can I get a motion to accept that after we've done a thorough review?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it as long as I can ask a question.
Yep, go ahead.
There's been no changes to that contract?
No.
It's the same one
It's the
we
same
looked at, apples for apples,
Yep.
everybody's?
Yep. It was very intriguing. I had some really professional look at it also, and they said that these are on, and there's no reason for the others to bend so high. This is where it should be, and so it's what it is. So, all in favor at that point? Aye. Thank you. We got some paving bids. These are the recommendations from, that we gave back to Lee, correct?
Yeah,
Did you enlighten us on these?
So we gave all the, you opened the bids at the last meeting, and we gave all the bids back to the DPW Director, Lee Nichols, and asked him to compare them and make sure. There was one instance where one was quoted in tonnage and not yardage, so he did the conversions. And his recommendation is that we go with R&D, even, they gave some caveats of some other kind of shim and overlay, but they're still the least expensive, and he did use R&D last year, and he was happy with their performance and the materials they use, so he would like you to award it to the low bidder of R&D.
Okay, so he's saying that R&D is actually the low bidder, because it looks to me like they're just a hair over the other, which is fine. I agree with him going with who that we've, that we're completely.
No, on the bid tabulation, their total comes to 179,280, and the next closest one is
Okay, that's not what
190,448.
I'm seeing. Okay, I'm looking at 11,000 to 12,000.
That's just,
Okay,
I think that is just the,
I'm looking at it now, I see it,
So
okay.
I think you broke it down so everybody was
Yeah,
priced
I
per
didn't see
yard.
this.
that's the gravel edge, that's not the whole
Okay,
process. So I did a bid tabulation spreadsheet for you.
Yep, I see it now.
thank you.
Good job. No, I agree with him. They did do a good job, and they are, you know, they're not extremely low, but they're at least decent, and we can go from there. So do I get a motion to accept Lee's recommendation to R&D paving for 179,280?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So Lee, good job.
Do we know what account it's coming out of and everything's?
There was money appropriated for paving. So the next item is the Brookfield Highway road trash to the transfer station. The chairman of the Brookfield Board of Selectmen came and saw me a week or so ago. Their highway department, which I believe is a contracted highway department, has been finding some miscellaneous rubbish on the side of the road, things that some is trash, which they can already bring to the transfer station, but they're more concerned about things that we normally charge for, tires, furniture, small electronics. They're finding some items, and we had told Warren that only the board can approve abating any fee that you set. So Mr. Zacher asked me about keeping a tab, and so he and I got into a discussion about the town of Brookfield is already paying us for transfer station services. And I told them my recommendation would be that the board allow me to write a letter to Mr. Zacher saying that they can bring, their highway department can bring their roadside rubbish in, and that Warren keep track of it for a couple of months, and we just see what kind of volume we're talking about, and then the board can reevaluate it in a couple of months and see, you know, if it becomes something that's ridiculously expensive to get rid of, then we can address it then. But I think when they did the roadside pickup, we were concerned about it, and they only brought 2 tires and I think 1 couch, so it was a very small amount. And like I said, they're already contracted with us and paying for transfer station services, so I think that we go ahead and abate any fees, let them bring it in, get it off the side of the road. And
So does that mean like do they do that every week, or do they do that just once or twice a year? I mean.
I think they would bring it in if they find it on the side of the road, so they don't have to stockpile it, because they
Oh, I
don't
see.
really have a place
As
to.
if they're finding something.
Similar
they
to our
go-
highway department sees
Yep.
3 tires on the side of the road, they pick it up and take it down to the transfer station and dispose of it properly. they find it periodically when they're doing road work or when they're driving down the roads, and rather than stockpiling it, they don't have a transfer station, they have to stockpile it at the highway garage and then bring it in some other time. So I think, again, we write Mr. Zacher a letter, copy Warren on it, allow it to happen for a couple of months, have Warren track it, and see what kind of volume we're talking about.
You good with that?
Yes,
Lino?
sounds like a good idea.
And we will revisit this in 60 days?
I think, a couple of months to see what it is, and yeah, I'm okay with that.
The only concern I have is that the Wakefield taxpayers are getting stuck with the disposal fees of trash found. The additional disposal fees of a couch, a television, a tire, and everything else, that they might not be paying for, they're paying for the use of it, but is it up to a certain point?
I agree with you. I mean, we've discussed this, and, but if I guess we can see we can reevaluate it in 2 months and see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
If it turns into something that, then maybe we up their rates.
Well, we can talk about that afterwards. And are they separating the trash? Is it just all bottles in one bag, or are they just doing
That's a good question.
everything in and we don't know what's in
When
it?
they did the roadside pickup, they did recycle. They did separate out the recyclables from the trash. But if that's something that is particularly important to you, I'll make sure the letter addresses that as well.
I mean, we're recycling, and
Insofar as possible that everything be recycled.
Yeah.
And can we set like a poundage amount for like the total for the year? Or just can we have constant pick everything up and bring it to Wakefield?
well, I don't know what it would be. Why don't we do that 2 months and see what kind of volume they do, and then we can choose from there. I mean, if they're doing 10 ton, then maybe there is a reason that we need to do something. But if they're doing 200 pounds
Every month?
which is a penny,
But the flip side of that is that some of that material may be things that we can sell, and we don't give them any of the revenue from the sale of recyclables. So when we sell, if it's something that's metal, we get some money for scrap metal. We're not giving them credit for the revenue. We're keeping the revenue. So I think insofar as it's a realistic amount and it's not something that unforeseen volume or tonnage of rubbish, which is not proven
sounds
to
like
be
you
the
give
case.
that some thought.
Yeah, I think that, and honestly, I'm kind of open to hearing what Brookfield has to say too, because they do pay us for their services and they don't get one-on-one credit for the revenue. We keep the revenue. We're doing all the work and all the labor, and that's understandable. I'm not saying that we owe them anything, but I think that it's in all of our best interest to keep the stuff off the side of the road. You've got to drive through Brookfield to get to Wakefield. You've got to drive through Wakefield to get to, I mean, we're all neighbors here, and we're providing a service to them, and if it's in our,
I think it'd be great to find out in a couple of months
Yeah,
and see what it is. Yeah.
I think that would be a good,
So we all in favor of that?
yes.
All right,
60 days.
you got it.
Yep.
Okay, new business.
the town hall rear parking lot. So, the rear parking lot on the lower level has a limited number of parking places. There's 10 on the edge, and there's 3 that go lengthwise of each other. We have 6 staff members that work downstairs when the lower level is fully staffed. And I've noticed that there are people that come to visit both the building department and the assessing department and the welfare department that have no place to park. They either have to park on the upper level and walk down. A lot of those people come through the upper level of the building, so we see them.
By double parallel.
And I understand that we are providing a service to the Level Lake Food Center to let their employees park. But I've noticed that there's more employees of Level Lake Food Center in the parking lot than there are residents or staff people of the building. So I'd like to approach the owner of the Level Lake Food Center and talk to him about providing alternative parking for his employees. I spoke to everybody that worked in the lower level of the building. I think it's important that our employees park farther away from the building and leave those parking spaces close to the building for the residents to use. I'd like to mark one of those as handicap parking because I think it's unfair for people who have physical disabilities to try to walk from out on the street or from the upper level. I talked to the police chief about enforcing that as well, and we had a conversation about signage and also on the, is it Meadow Street?
Yes.
Okay, so on the little side street, there is parking lot on both sides of that street, and employees could use that. And in addition to that, the Level Lake Food Center has some parking up above it that they don't even always use. I don't want to make this more difficult for a business in town, but I think it's come to the time where it's only fair for the residents that need to access the lower level of the building, especially handicapped residents. We need to provide some, and then we would make the employees park as far away from the building as possible. I'd like to leave a couple up by the dumpster available, and then the 3 that are on the side available to the residents.
I would agree with you, because I've been down there 100 times and never ever been able to park. I have to parallel park next to who I know's car ain't moving, isn't moving.
Well, in addition to that, I also talked to the DPW director to get his take on it, and he says it's difficult because the store opens so early that sometimes there's cars parked in there at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, so it becomes an issue for plowing operations, that it can't get plowed out before our employees or before the public needs to access the parking lot. It's just, I don't want to hurt the store, and I'm willing to work with them, but I think there is other parking available to them, and then we could leave this. And then after hours or on Saturdays and Sundays when there's not an event going, then I don't have any issue with it, but if we can kind of free it up for the residents and handicapped residents, then I think we should try that.
I agree with you. I think it is very tough to park down there when it's full and everybody's down there. I mean, I'm down here, but this was one of my goals, was we needed some public parking in our town. We really don't have a huge amount. Yes, I think they could park, I don't know, is your yard at night, is that a public parking spot on the backside of the restaurant?
Yeah.
Between you and Turnkey.
Between you and the
Trash table's public.
It is public. So there is some alternative, they may have to walk, 1,000 feet, but at least there's some alternative for them as employees going to be there for 8 hours.
Well, and they may be able to talk to Profile about, parking a couple employees over there, a couple on the street. I think they can make,
They
there's
can
some
make
other
some attempt
things they can do.
to help. Good thought.
So you're okay with me
Yep.
writing a letter and asking him to talk to his
Are you
employees
in
about
that?
that?
You okay with that?
I think since it's public parking, and the taxpayers pay for public parking.
It isn't public parking, it's town, I mean, it's during the day, it's for the town hall, I would think, right? But I'm not against helping them.
Taxpayers pay for the town hall.
Correct.
We don't
Let's
pay,
say half the employees are not from town.
but the store pays taxes, so we can have that happen. But we shouldn't exclude them from the process,
So what
but
would
we
you?
should ask for their compliance.
That's what I'm saying, I'm not saying to get,
Yeah.
to help them, I wanna help them, that was
Yeah,
one
we
of my
shouldn't
goals.
kick
is to
them
get
out.
part- No,
Or tow them out because they're parked there,
no,
because they
I don't
parked there
have,
for 100 years.
I don't want that to happen either. But that's one of my goals, was to have public parking and get adequate, because we don't need a ton of that.
Well, we have this parking lot, the other parking lot, you can park on the street across from.
Yeah, I'm surprised that some of them don't park up here.
I mean,
During the day, if you look up there right now, there's not a parking spot.
this morning there wasn't any parking spots,
Yeah.
because there was meetings or something going on.
Correct, and plus your restaurant is,
Yeah, and we
I
had
wouldn't want them
the
to park
bus,
in
the
there.
bus trip the other day, and that was full over there. So-
I'm just concerned too, in the winter, about the staff, because the DPW doesn't always get here to plow first thing in the morning. And if the staff from the lower level is parked up here, and a lot of them, the building department sometimes opens earlier than the upper level. I usually get here around 7:30, maybe a little
Well,
earlier.
there's no
But they don't
reason
have a
that you
key.
can't ban that during snowstorms like they do every side street. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, that's just common sense, that we need it plowed out, it needs to be safe for people to go in and out. Because guys can't be there. During a snowstorm, they just can't be there, they got to find alternatives.
As long as we ask them to move their cars
Correct.
before we tow them out.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting towing anything.
Okay.
No, I I would like to talk to the store owner first and get his buy-in and ask him to assist us with this. You know, if it gets to the point where there's handicapped residents in wheelchairs waiting out there to try to access our building, then we'll have to do it some other way, but that has not happened to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, handicap access should be the first two, usually the first two closest to the door.
Yeah.
I
And I
think
think,
that should
I
happen
thought
right
that,
away.
but that's, we got it as a fire thing. We should move that dumpster a little bit back into the field there anyway. That kind of
Anyways, you can't, then we're gonna lose 3 parking places for the truck to go in with the arms, and I've looked
Oh, I
at
see
it, there's
what you're
just no
saying.
way
Yeah, I see
to,
what
we're
you're
gonna
saying.
lose 3 of those spaces, and the store already takes 6 of them, so we're gonna lose all of our parking by moving the dumpster, there's no,
We'll see what, see
So
what
when
Government
the-
says.
when the extension happens to the library, I think there'll be some backland there. The chief suggested maybe talking to the library about extending the parking, and then maybe we can do something with the dumpster and get it out of the way and make the parking better and more accessible for the building. But the way it is right now, there's really nowhere else to put the dumpster because you need to back in with those arms to lift it.
I think Level Lake will be more than happy to try to help, by all means.
It's always a part of the process. And can I ask why we have a dumpster when we have a town landfill?
Because we need somebody to, you want me to put it in my car and take it to the transfer station?
I think we can have Lee or one of the guys come over once a week.
They do now, don't they? I thought they always did.
We have a dumpster.
I thought that's what Warren did, he come get all the paper.
He comes and gets the
He
recycling,
gets the recycling.
but that's trash. Our cleaning company puts the trash out there. And this weekend, or Friday, I put a dead bird out there. And I'm really glad it didn't have to stay in my building for the whole weekend.
Well,
Because that would have been
That's a
bad.
good thought, I never thought of
I
that.
just wonder why.
I guess I've never thought.
I know why I have one, but
And I know why I have one, because I don't use the thing, but that's a good thought, why, if there's, but I guess you'd want someplace to put something so they could pick it up, so I guess the dumpster, is that
well, when does the cleaning company come?
every night?
Monday,
right?
Monday and Thursday nights.
Monday and Thursday
So
night?
Tuesday and Friday mornings, they come pick up the 2 or 3 bags in the hallway. Instead of us expensing the dumpster.
I don't know what goes in there.
I'll take a look at that at budget time,
Yeah.
but I would prefer not to take somebody off the road crew. He's got enough guys to do 2 full road crews, and I would prefer not to pull somebody off a road crew.
I wouldn't go with the road crew, as much as I would go with the 4 guys that are down at the transfer station.
Yeah.
Warren always did it, I'm just not
Don't we
sure
have
what
a
he picked up.
maintenance- Are we gonna pick up a maintenance position or something for this? Could be part of his job.
It could be.
Yeah,
Saving with the dumpster could
Yeah.
offset his costs.
one of the things Lee and I are talking about for the budget time is maybe taking mowing back internally as opposed to using a landscaping company to do our mowing.
We've talked about that, and there was such an initial cost at the beginning, that's what got everybody nervous with it, but I'm not against talking about it, because we do spend quite a bit of money in the first year, I bet the second year you would save it back by buying some of this material, but I don't know how that would do with insurances and all that.
I think it's worthy of discussion before we
Yes.
get ahead of ourselves.
Yep,
Yeah, it's all part of budgets.
all right, I think you got that under control with Level Lake, that's good.
Cell phone reimbursement,
Yep.
so when I had the department head meeting a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned something about cell phones, and I think it's important that we consider putting Wayne Robinson, our Parks and Rec director, on the cell phone stipend. People call his cell phone
Constantly.
all day,
Oh, yeah.
every
It's all-
day,
he's
all
got-
weekend,
Yep.
nights. He shouldn't have to pay that
No.
himself. And I think that $30 won't cover the entirety of a cell phone bill, but I think it'll go a long way towards the,
His use of minutes,
Yeah,
yeah, I
and-
agree.
you know, during baseball season, he's got the coaches calling him and the parents and the, trips, and we need him to be available to us. He needs to have that cell phone in case something happens on one of these trips. I don't have the authority to do that, so I was hoping you guys would.
Do we
It's
have
$30 per month.
do we have a cell phone policy in place for
We do under our
administrators and stuff?
personnel policies, don't we? Have a cell phone use policy?
I almost think we made one, something when we started doing the cell phone thing.
I don't know, because I don't get the cell phone stipend either, so I have to say I'm woefully, the chief has his hand up.
Chief?
I get $30 and the fire chief, we actually provide him a phone. So he doesn't need a stipend, but we provide him a phone. And so that was kind of the initiation of helping out with the cell phone stuff. And the idea was that with the new, and it was a directive also to get a smartphone, because when we got this new software, we wanted to be able to access our emails from home and stuff and do some follow-up. So it was kind of like, it went from those flip phones, and kind of the directive was, you guys need to go out and get a smartphone so that you can get your email. So if I need to email you something at night, you can respond to it. So that's kind of where it all started. So the fire chief and me started with cell phones, and it's nice to get the obviously it's nice to get a $30 stipend to it. It doesn't pay the whole thing, but I'm like on my thing, I'm not looking for the whole thing, but I think the $30 stipend is reasonable if it's you using it for your job. So the fire chief and me have it now, so.
And the welfare director, the DPW director, pretty much people that you or I would need to get a hold of after hours. There's a cell phone that goes back and forth between the sewer director and one of the transfer station guys that's been on call, so.
Is there a plan for something like this? Is there like a plan that is for business that would come with 5 phones, you know what I'm saying, that you would issue? I mean,
I think at one time they had phones issued, but the problem with that is that then you have to carry 2 cell phones. You're carrying your own personal cell phone, because half the coaches have the personal number and half have the town number. And a lot of people, even when those were issued, a lot of people would forward the work phone to their personal phone so that they only had to carry it. And I think towns have found that it's cost effective to pay a portion of people's cell phones and let them use it for work. It's not covering the whole thing, but it does defray some of the cost. And if they have to go up in a plan, for more texting or more data, then it covers that, so. I think it's
I think
reasonable.
$30 is cheap, because I know what I spend myself, so that doesn't cost me much.
I'm not opposed to the money, so make sure that we have a clear policy for what we're doing. That's all.
Okay, so we'll make one.
If we don't, I will research what our policy is, and if it's not clear, I'll bring it to you and we'll
Clear it up.
clear it up.
Motion to accept?
Yep,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Wakefield Resource Center, request to serve alcohol. I think this is their yearly thing that they do down there, that we've always accepted. I don't have a problem with it. We've never had a problem, so are you all set with that? You understand it?
I'm not.
Okay, I'm asking.
The town owns the building.
Mm-hmm.
If something happens,
They have insurance.
oh, well, good, but in the world of litigation, the ones with deeper pockets get served as well, which would be the town.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have an indemnity clause when they sign on to serve alcohol on a town building?
You know, we've been issuing this for many years, so I'm not positive.
Only takes once.
Yeah.
They name us as an addition, they do what our insurance company requires. And we have always made sure that they have an insurance certificate and that we're named as an additional insured on the policy.
I believe, and we've asked the insurance company before, but just let you know.
Yeah, the towns I come from do not allow alcohol consumption ever in a town building, not for weddings, not for anything at all. So I made sure and go out to the insurance company and make sure that we were covered, because you apparently have allowed it in the past and do allow it with your permission. I believe it has to be the director of the resource center and the board of selectmen's permission, so.
A couple more questions.
Go
That's
ahead.
okay. What are we requiring of them for insurance?
Whatever our insurance company asked us to, so I couldn't.
Well, there's nothing
answer
here,
that.
so I don't know if they can have a $10 policy or a $10 million policy.
I don't know what the limits are. I can ping Jeff Reardon from our insurance company and ask him what the minimum are. Usually, I believe it's 100,000 and 300,000. And a lot of times they also have like a $1 or $2 million umbrella.
That doesn't go very far, if somebody gets killed or into an accident or.
Well, here's the deal. I think you have to be reasonable. If you've always allowed this and you've never set a pie in the sky limit, then you've got to let them do it. If you're going to set the limits at something they can't afford because it's a fundraiser, then you're basically saying no, so just say no.
Yeah, no.
So I think if you've historically allowed it and you've been okay with it and your insurance company is clearly okay with it, as long as we have the mandatory requirement for insurance and we be the additional insured, which we always have, then,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have any problems with Jeff giving me guidelines on what's customary in insurance, but, you know, if we're gonna do something greater
We've
than
asked
that,
them before.
we
I
should
believe
know.
we did. Actually, I believe we did it last year, and we went through the same thing.
For this event, just so you know, was for a different event. This
Yeah,
is
but they
not-
do one, like, they do one like every year. That's what I'm
Not,
assuming.
it's not unusual for you to get a request.
Yeah.
Do we have the request?
Do you have the
Oh, I
request?
printed off of what Jeff had indicated with my son.
Yeah, I didn't,
Down
the
there.
request didn't come to me, it came to
Yeah.
Tony. I don't have the
I believe
request.
it was
I don't think
actually
I-
Friends of the Gap.
Oh, is this what, this Jeffrey guy, is this what he said, the only thing he would add would be the town to make mandatory that
Yeah.
there are a named as additional insurer on the rental policy. So that tells us right there that our insurance company is okay with that.
Which I believe we always do, don't we?
Correct. Yeah.
It's the Gap, it's Friends of the Gaffney Library, I believe, and it has something to do with, it's an event of theirs that they would like to hold.
No, I still think there should be an indemnity clause for the town
You can vote on it.
in the renter's agreement,
You can vote on
especially
it.
for serving alcohol.
But then I think you're gonna get into the expense of
Yeah.
$175 an hour for the town attorney to write it, because I'm sure Wakefield Resource Center isn't gonna put themselves out for the Gaffney Library because it's a town. I mean, we're kind of just passing the
Yeah.
cost along here.
So, and I understand his
If that's
thoughts,
what you
and
want,
that's
I
what he
mean, I'll
has
send it to
thought,
Rick Sager and have him,
but I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second.
All right, you want to discuss it some more?
I just want to make sure the town is protected.
And we do too, and
We've
we've done
seen-
everything that's
Yeah.
entitled to us.
Yeah.
So on the good behalf of the town, I can think that we've done the right thing.
Great,
So,
but in town, we've seen what happens to good people
Mhm.
when something,
you can't be afraid of everything in your whole life. You gotta be
we-
strong.
we gotta
You know,
protect the town.
sometimes, well, this is for the town. These are, I'm sure it's a lot more elderly people involved in this.
I'm not,
That doesn't mean-
I don't know who's involved, it doesn't say.
So I'm assuming that it's, it's a benefit to the town, but I'm okay with that. I mean, I agree with you what you're saying. So you got a motion on the table in a second. All in favor to accept?
Aye.
Aye. You would?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you
I
guys
think you're right.
have
You're
the
good.
insurance that nothing will happen.
Well, I can't promise you nothing because I don't know. But I am pretty good at most people are pretty decent. Anyway, okay. Here we should propose. Town hall improvements, we've got a capital expenditure. Okay, the draperies for the 3 windows in the conference room, which is here, which we haven't got in, but they want money to make them, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And they want $2,297.40. Do I have a motion on the table to accept them?
So moved.
And so's the audience, right? Second,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Charlie, at the time?
I'll do.
Okay,
Then I got this new pen.
we got new ones.
Yes.
We have the police department expenditure amount requested for the purchase of the new Ford Police Scepter. Purchase of the new Ford Police Interceptor. The request is $28,689.
Haven't we already approved that?
yeah,
I thought
this
we
is
did.
us requesting the funds from the capital reserve fund.
Yep.
We've already written the checks out of the general fund, now we're reimbursing the general fund from the capital reserves.
Okay,
So moved.
Fantastic.
so we got a
First and
motion,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a amount requested of $120 for full graphics installed on the new PT. I'm assuming they're all done, we're just reimbursing, doing the same thing, correct? So a motion on the table to
Should we
accept.
get them
Yes.
here?
Is there a
We
second?
got it.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, correspondence, we got the the Department of Revenue Administration responding to the Union Village Community Association. I guess I'm just gonna ask, did we ever get the letter for the response from the lawyer on how he determined his reason that he said that we were in violation to give that? Did you ever get that?
Just the letter that he wrote. He said it was pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I don't, unfortunately, I don't have any history of this because I wasn't here for either deliberative session or.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
for the good of the people, if that's a short letter, would you be able to read that out loud so people can know what you're reading? If it's short, you know.
It is a short one. Do you want to read it for him, please?
You want a copy of it?
I have it.
You have a copy?
Thank you for your letter of June 9th, 2017. Oh, this says, Dear Mr. House. Of June 9th, 2017 to Michelle Clark and for the supporting attachments via email. I also wish to thank you for alerting the Municipal Bureau to the incorrect reading of the deliberative session minutes, although the minutes failed to mention a hand count vote and the fact that a voice vote had not been used. Your request for information concerning the proper way to make a formal appeal is an area that is within the purview of the Board of Selectmen. You noted in your letter of June 9th to the Wakefield Board of Selectmen that they might initiate such an appeal to DRA. At this early moment in the examination and approval of appropriations under RSA 21-J:35, Roman numeral 2A, such action would take the form of a request to reconsider the disallowance. Should the Wakefield Board of Selectmen request any reconsideration, we would of course review such as they are made. A formal statutory appeal is available to the Wakefield Board of Selectmen. CRSA 21-J:35, Roman numeral 6. But the appropriation disallowance is one element of the calculation of the tax rate, and the appeal window does not open until the tax rate is finalized.
All right, so Kelly, can you explain that? I mean, is it telling us that it would be to us to go for the appeal?
Yeah, you could ask for a formal appeal. So in paragraph 2 where it says at this early moment in the examination and approval of appropriation under RSA 21-J:35, comma, Roman numeral 2, paragraph little a, that says to compute and establish the tax rates of towns and cities and unincorporated places under paragraph 1, the commissioner, meaning the commissioner of the Department of Revenue Administration, shall examine the reports required under 21J:34 to ensure that, and A is, all appropriations have been made in a manner which is consistent with procedural requirements established by statute. And then the reference to 21J35 Roman numeral 6 in paragraph 3 about the formal statutory appeal is available to the Wakefield Board of Selectmen. That section reads, any town, city, or unincorporated place which is dissatisfied with the tax rate set under this section may, within 10 days of notification, request an oral hearing on this matter before the Commissioner of Revenue Administration. If such a request is made, the Commissioner shall promptly schedule and conduct a hearing pursuant to the rules he shall adopt under RSA 554-A. After hearing the decision of the Commissioner shall be final. So we couldn't appeal formally under 21J35 Roman numeral 6 until after the tax rate is set, which is normally in October.
So in October, we could appeal it just to get that final decision from the Department of Revenue.
But that will hold up our tax rate and it will hold up our tax bills being sent. Yeah. So if it holds it up longer than November 1st, then it can affect our cash flow.
Yeah.
But you can't do it until the tax rate is done, so, I mean.
It's
why would
similar
you-
to an abatement. You can't file an abatement as a resident until the second issue tax bill goes out because you don't know what the tax rate is gonna be. The first issue tax bill is half of last year's actual. The tax rate gets set in October, and that's when you can file for an abatement, is after the second issue tax bill goes out. So in this case, you can't appeal something that hasn't actually been set. So the tax rate gets set in October. As soon as we get that, then we can formally appeal.
Could I, a point of information? The way I think I'm reading this, though, in the second paragraph, when the sentence starts, at this early moment in the examination and approval of appropriations, such action would take the form of a request to reconsider the disallowance. In other words, at this stage of the game, you are permitted to just do a bureaucratic request to have that disallowance reconsidered.
I agree. You can do that.
Okay, so let's say that just so I can understand the process, let's say we did say, okay, go to the Department of Revenue and file that. They would look at it again and give us another statement of their opinion. And would that be finalized? In, let's just say hypothetically it wasn't to your benefit, would that be final?
No, you could still appeal in October after the tax rate is set.
Correct, but I wouldn't want to do that to burden the taxpayer because he's not getting his bill. But if we can do this now, would it be beneficial? I mean, would we take the answer, is what I'm saying.
The problem is that Rick Sager, you paid Rick Sager to give you his opinion, and that's the.
And I agree, and that's why I went with that, but my problem is who's to say Rick Sager is right? That's what I'm saying, I mean.
The DRA right now.
They are saying this is correct.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to another municipal attorney. I can go through the book. There's
I know,
5 or 6
understand
different
that.
municipal attorneys, and you can get a second opinion. But,
Which Mr. Sager suggested you could do in his letter.
and I've suggested twice here that
Yes, you have.
you can do, which will cost money, but you would have a second opinion, and then if you have 2 attorneys that disagree, then you could give them both to DRA and ask for another informal, and if you don't like that answer, you can still go for a formal appeal in October.
But my point is I wouldn't go for the formal appeal in October. What I'm saying is, if we went to that route, the answer that DRA, let's say the new attorney says he believes it's okay. And then, so now we got 2 attorneys that say one or the other. So now we send it to DRA, they make the decision. I'm going to accept that whether it's right or wrong.
That's up to you. That's up to you as a board.
As for that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the reason why I say this is because I asked the fire chief to tell me what he thought of the water problems down there. And I went as far as asking about how to fix that without doing anything such as those cistern water systems. The buildings are too big down there for a water system to work like it should. Like, it's a great idea, they've thought of it, but there's too much fire down there if it was to ever explode. He does say that everything down here really isn't working correctly. It's not enough when the water table's down, there's not enough water. They've given a new dry fire hydrant or something, and they just haven't put it in, but that doesn't, they don't think it's adequate water. That's just an opinion. I just got it now. I opened it tonight. I'll be more than glad to share. It's not really much. It's just, I asked his opinion so that I would have it. So I'm not saying that I'm in agreement, but my thought process is there's no reason that I have to say, I'm not saying that he's wrong, but I'm saying that I'm just not satisfied with the complete answer. I'd almost be willing to go for a second opinion. And then if they're two different, then DRA takes it, and I'm going to say, if they say no, it's no. If it say yes, then so be it. But I can't make the decision because I'm not a lawyer. And I agree, we paid this guy, and I went out on a line against the voters because of the lawyer told us different. But I'm not so sure when I read others and done research. I'm not saying it's yes or no. I'm just saying that if I had a better answer.
So in doing it that way, what you're saying is that DRA would give the final answer, and that's something we should go with.
If
Because
that
that
second
should
attorney,
finalize
that should finalize it. If that second attorney says that he thinks it's okay,
Yeah.
then now you've got two.
But if they don't-
But if they don't, if he
Right.
says that I agree with Rick, in this case, I'm sorry, but I agree with your attorney, then I wouldn't hesitate to stand up for that, because you're doing the right thing for the vote.
So what if
Right
you get
now,
one that says no, one that says yes, are you gonna get a third one that breaks the tie?
you're gonna have to do the DRA.
Send that to.
What if DRA won't decide because there's one yay and one nay?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought you said that would be the process, that you send it to the
That,
DRA.
that is the informal process that they're outlining, but, you know, I'm thinking 2 steps ahead of one says yes, one says no. If both say no, then there's probably not a question.
Right.
The DRA is gonna say that this is what we said. But if one says yes and one says no, DRA may not want to informally weigh in again. They may require that you go to a formal. I don't know. I don't
And
speak
you
for
know,
DRA.
you're suggesting things that's above me, I understand that, and that's, I mean, I'm not, all I'm thinking is, we're making a decision, we're telling the voter that we're going against them. I'm okay with that as long as we're doing the right thing. And I can't say honestly that we're doing the right thing. I believe when Jim and Jerry say things, they've done some study. They're a lot smarter at it than I am. But as an opinion, as a voter, if I'm the one that's voting for that, I'd be kind of disappointed that there's such a substantial amount of people voted for it. Then, yeah, I believe it deserves at least a second opinion.
Okay.
But I'm only one. I'm willing to go with my board. I feel trusted with this, and that's all I'm suggesting is that would that, if the decision was made, are they going to accept it? As for us to go to that final process, which I think holds everything up, and I'm not willing to go to that. How do you feel?
I feel the same way.
Lino, are you?
I'd like to get a second opinion. That's how I feel.
Okay. How do you feel? Probably get a little more idea.
I think you guys need to reread this RSA because it says specifically, after the tax rate is set, we have the ability to ask for an appeal.
Would it be worthy to ask that one question before we make any decisions?
It's spelled out right here. Any town, city, or unincorporated place which is dissatisfied with the tax rate set under the section may within 10 days of notification request an oral hearing on this matter before the commissioner, which would be Commissioner Beardmore. If such a request is made, the commissioner shall promptly schedule and conduct a hearing pursuant to rules he adopted under RSA 541-A. After the hearing, the decision of the commissioner shall be final.
And I'm okay with the final. Jerry?
Yeah, you
Just
need
out
to
of
read the
curiosity.
second paragraph, it says that,
And-
informal.
Given the amount of case law, I don't think they are going to overturn it.
Okay. And that's what I need, I mean, I need to understand that, you know?
I would just recommend throwing in the towel on this deal right now. You're not gonna fund it this year anyway because it was taken out of the budget. And if you wait until after the tax rate's set, you wind up getting your tax rate set late. We had to take $1 million tax anticipation note a number of years ago. 1 month's interest was $10,000 on that money. But
Yeah, I know.
what I would do,
Taxes.
what I would do if I were you is you can't pay it this year anyway, just put it in the budget for next year. If you want to jam it through, you guys want to jam this through. You want this money there in the worst way I can see it. You haven't taken the recommendation of the attorney or the DRA or the budget committee or anybody. You just,
We haven't.
you haven't. So
We
just can this thing and just put it in your budget. Put it in the fire department budget. Put it in the conservation budget. Put it in as a budget item, and put it through that way and just pay for it.
I don't think you can, I think DRA will disallow it.
Well, the only thing is, if the fire department's saying it's a fire issue and it's a crisis, and this is what their line is now, that this is now turned into an emergency management situation and a fire crisis. If you can put it in, you can sell DRA on the idea that it's a fire hazard down there, and put it into your fire department budget.
The problem is that's a slippery slope, because that's just 34.5 for the plant, then there's engineering, and there's.
Yeah, but
It's gonna cost
I was supposed to
$150.
get, I asked for that also, to find out what that money is actually for, and what after the money, where it goes for me, because I believe you, but I'm not quite sure that that's an accurate statement, only because I'm under the understanding, and I did not get it like I was supposed to tonight, so I can bring it as an itemized thing of what that money was being spent for, and what their thought process is beyond that money.
I think the Warren article was pretty clear that it wasn't for the repairs. I have worked in towns that own dams, and I'm telling you right now that it would be very unlikely that a sluiceway could be repaired for $34,500.
You'd spend $100,000 or $200,000 on that. That concrete's all cracked. I don't know if anybody's pumped it out and looked at the footings under it, but I mean, you can't fix concrete. You got to replace it. So I mean, if you're gonna buy that and take the property and plan on spending $250,000 down there and rehabbing the whole thing, that's what you got to do. But you're gonna nickel it. You got $7,000 that the Conservation Commission already put in it. In 2015, now they want another $35,000 put into it. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Like Kelley says, that's just the beginning. It doesn't
And I
end
can't answer
there.
that, because I won't know until I see the actual documents.
You're not gonna take anybody's advice anyways.
Don't even let it go.
Jerry,
Yeah.
no, I want to correct something you said.
Yes.
The three of us voted to go with our attorney.
Yes.
So don't say that we're trying to push it through.
Well,
We
no, but
voted.
I'm just saying now you're gonna get a second opinion from another. Bill would give you an opposite opinion. He's the lawyer. He's in favor of spending the money. So
He is.
have him write you an opinion. Then you have an opinion on either side, and then you go back to DRA
We
and you
already have
spend.
his opinion.
Right.
In
So
a minute.
you have it.
Maybe
So?
we'll go.
Thousands of dollars.
No, that's all right. Anyway,
Are we public comment?
no, not yet, but we will be.
That?
We will be.
Okay.
We'll let you.
I would like to speak when it's my turn.
Okay.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Okay?
I think that any future information should come to the entire board and be asked for by the entire board.
What is that?
You asked for a breakdown of
I didn't, oh,
what the cost of certain things are, and you asked for an opinion of the fire chief. It should come to all of us.
okay, but I just didn't have a chance to give it to you.
It should be asked by us and given to all of us.
Okay, should it be, or is it a law that says it has to be?
I think out of respect for your fellow board members.
I understand, but
You
just
should
tell me,
ask,
is it?
ask as a board, you should receive as a board.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay.
Good
Because
point.
that's the, I'm
But,
not keeping track,
all
but
I'm
that's at least
saying-
the third time this has happened.
If it's not a law, then I'm not gonna worry about it, but I will agree with you that maybe it's okay. But if it,
It shouldn't be a law that the chairman of the board shares information
well,
with
I'm
the
not
board.
getting it. I just opened it right here, You know, so yes, if you wanna see it, it's not, it's
We
just,
should
all I wanted
ask
to
as a
is
board.
ask what was down there and how it operated.
Because you're introducing that as public information.
That's fine.
So we should have it before so we can at least ask the questions of the fire chief.
Okay. All right. Where are we now?
Who knows?
Hey, this is what it's about.
That's right.
I don't,
So I need to know from the board if I'm getting a second opinion.
if you want my opinion,
Nobody,
I guess.
somebody needs to make a motion, second it, and vote, because I need direction.
I guess I'm
Can I
not in
speak
favor.
first?
No,
You let other people do it.
I don't, but forgive me, just 2 seconds.
Well,
I guess I'm not in favor of a second opinion. Actually, we got one from Bill Denman tonight.
But
I
that,
didn't think of that before.
I know
He's an attorney.
He is, and he knows what it is, he's done a little study on it, this is what's bringing it into the limelight, but if you're not,
And he made some very good points.
100%, I mean, I believe in the voter,
But
we chose
we
not
chose to
to.
go with our town attorney. We chose that.
Yep,
We also took an oath to uphold the laws of New Hampshire. And if the laws of New Hampshire state
but
we are not allowed to do it,
we are.
we are not allowed to do it.
Correct, we are, but we are listening to, that's what we chose to do, is listen to our attorney. But I'm just saying, what if he's wrong?
Then why is there a attorney?
Well, that doesn't mean, would you get a second opinion if you thought your answer was wrong on, I don't know, you had a broken arm and you didn't think you had one, would you go for a second opinion?
Yeah, I would.
Oh, me too, but
This is a very subjective topic.
I agree.
You can ask 5 people and get 5 different opinions on the same thing.
290 said to go for it. That's all.
So I'm just, hypothetically, I put in a town warrant article.
Mhm.
I get it passed to be able to take over the deed to the town hall.
Okay.
Would you honor that?
It would have, no, it become.
It's the will of the voters.
No, I agree, and that's what I'm saying.
Where-
I
where
went
would it
with no.
stop?
I went with no.
But where does it stop?
I don't know.
We've already had past precedent where we didn't take care of the Bella Lake dam, is from years ago, that we tax as waterfront property, major tax area. Now, their project is not unnecessary, but it doesn't hold the same value as a Bella Lake dam to the town.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
And you've already had the past precedent of not funding those. Now, all those dams that need to be replaced now have precedent that this town will fix every dam. Because their need is greater, because we tax it as waterfront property. There's more people abutted to that waterfront property.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no, they're not entitled to their money, because the voters voted for it, but I'm also, we have,
Well,
you guys
isn't
have
that what I
voted for
just
past
said?
precedent.
Isn't that what I just said?
I'm
I'm
not
not saying
saying
no.
yes, we
I'm
should
just
give it
saying
to
the
them.
voters. I'm just asking the question, would you want
We've
this?
asked for an opinion,
Mhm.
we followed that opinion. GRA is disallowed. How do we file an appeal with those things in our hand?
So, Charlie, if you feel strongly about that, make a motion to get a second opinion. It either fails for lack of a second, or you get the
No,
vote.
because I'm going to work with my board. I understand that, and this is what I need to talk about it. And there's no reason that we're not making a decision. I need to talk about it, just like these guys had a chance to speak. I'll speak to
And
them.
they certainly can.
And all I want to say is that, am I in favor of this? I want these people to do what the voters said, yes. But I chose to listen to the attorney, just like we all did, and we voted for him. All I'm saying, this doesn't go away.
We keep giving them false hope at every meeting. We either say no or we say yes. There's no in between anymore. DRA said no, attorney said no, we voted not to accept it. Every meeting, we seem to keep dragging our feet. We can't do that to these people because they're under a timeline with DES. We're not. We have October 1st or whenever the tax rate is set to file an appeal. And with that appeal comes holding up tax revenue for the
Yeah, and
town.
I'm not going that far. I'm not going there. So,
And I'm sorry for being frank.
no, but I want you to be
We
frank. This is
spend
the
meeting after meeting on this and we get nowhere. Now we're the thought of a second opinion, not wasting taxpayer money, but we're using taxpayer money to get all these opinions. all these people are here on a taxpayer dole.
Okay, I'm with you. Are you?
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on then.
Okay,
All right?
yep.
All right.
Now, you can talk to Jim.
Well, I'm gonna, we'll hold him for just 2 seconds.
Does anybody else want to speak first?
No, hang on, where's the,
Well, I just want to
Agenda.
take my 3 minutes and
Okay, hang on.
address some
Okay.
things that were said tonight in a very respectful manner to everyone. I sense your struggle with this, and you have my sympathy on. However, Charlie, I hear you when you say that people voted, and they did. But you know, the voting process is not perfect, and that's why we have laws to ensure that things are done, that taxes are equitable and fair. To make any attempt, and I'm not accusing you of that, but to make any attempt to go around those laws to accomplish something is government by loophole. We see it every day in Washington, and it disgusts us. So I'm happy that it's not happening here, but we have to be careful of that. The second thing that was mentioned was that our town attorney is here to defend us. No, our town attorney is here to protect the town. That's his job. And that's exactly what he's doing. And that's exactly what he was doing at the deliberative session when he made a suggestion that a group of people didn't want to do. And so, you know, I'll leave you with one more comment here that I want to say humorously and respectfully. But asking, there's an old saying that asking the same question over and over and expecting a different answer is the definition of insanity. So I'm hopeful and I'm confident that that's not what's going on here. But that's the truth of the matter. And as much as I feel bad for these people and I want to get behind their project, you know, that brings me to the whole issue I've had right along, is that show me the plans, show me the approvals, show me the permits, show me the public access, okay? Show me. And these are all things that you would require of any town department.
I didn't ask him for, I'm
You know,
asking for.
before you, even if you had the money, you would require that of everyone to look out for the taxpayer. And I haven't seen that yet, and I don't think it's been shared with the taxpayers. And I'm hoping these folks will ultimately reach their goal and do it in an appropriate manner. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Good.
Go ahead, David.
I guess when I spoke a few meetings back, I spoke about the idea that one opinion was represented. Without expending any money, we do have a second opinion from a former town attorney. I haven't even read it myself, but if that opinion looks worthy to the selectmen, I would suggest that they do the informal, ask for a review, informal review for the DRA. It isn't going to cost anything, and it could be done at this point in time. You do not have to wait till October. And just see what they say if they see two sides of the issue, because although I haven't read it, apparently Mr. Denley represented the other side. So I spoke emphatically a couple meetings ago about the idea that lawyers' job is to represent their client on one side of an issue, but there's always another side. There's always another attorney. That's our system in the court. And if this thing is going to go to some kind of decision, I'd like to see both sides. I don't think the DRA made the decision except just by seeing one side, not both sides of the issue.
Okay, thank you. You want to speak? Okay.
I'm just going to say that that's approximately one of the things that I wanted to say, which is that the DRA made its ruling based upon what the town sent to it. And I'm quite certain that the DRA looked at all of that material, the minutes.
Did you send out DRA all your material? I thought you got it.
I did that, but that was after the fact. In other words, their original disallowance was based on the minutes of the meeting in which he discussed it, and based on Mr. Sager's letter.
I did not send.
To be honest with you, Mr. Claus, I think you're incorrect. The
Well, someone,
DRA has set their own, they look at it independently in their letter. We didn't send them any
all right,
information.
somewhere along the line, somebody told me that someone at the DRA had made that assertion. Now,
could or could not be.
We're talking about phone calls.
Phone call, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I heard was a phone call.
The minutes get uploaded to the DRA portal. That's a requirement to set the tax rate. They're
All
one
right,
of the
well,
documents.
that in and of itself showed the relatively negative viewpoint that was reflected by your having consulted Mr. Sager's opinion.
No, I mean the minutes of the deliberative session. They did not ask me for any minutes of any meetings either.
Right.
I did not
All
provide any of that to
right, all right,
them.
let's not belabor that point then. But
Well, it's
But
an
let's,
accusation
instead
against
of
the board.
belaboring that point, let's go back to the letter that you were considering here in this meeting. That letter says, at this point, at this early point, you have the option of asking for a review of that disallowance. And for a few minutes here, I thought I was hearing a very logical string of considerations, which is, if you were to go to another attorney, and I would suggest you want to go to an attorney who is not either Mr. Denley or Mr. Sager, if you go to another attorney, and that attorney gives you something which is in all or in part somewhat of an opposition to what Mr. Sager's opinion was, then to come back to the fact that the voters want this, right? They did vote in favor of it. And we can all have our opinions about whether it's legal or not, whether it's proper or not, but it can be followed through for the voters. You can go back to the DRA, you can say, we know you looked at it and you said X, Y, and Z. You said no, but we're considering the following things, which our second opinion attorney has brought up. By the way, they do have Mr. Sager's letter because I sent it to them. All right, so they have that for reference, and they have any second opinion that you might want to provide them with, and they can reconsider. They also have the extended conversation in which, the fire chief, you were just a few minutes ago saying, I realize that Mr. Avellani is upset that this wasn't done in advance of the meeting, but you got some information which suggests that it would be a good idea for the town to have water there. Okay, from the fire chief, all right?
Which was just explaining how what we
And-
have down there operates.
Now listen, that fact is what swings it from a private benefit, potentially, into a public purpose. If the purpose of doing this by the town, if the purpose is to ensure water down there, and you are saying that as it stands now, there is not a guaranteed supply of water, if that's the purpose, it's legal. And you can have a lawyer look through the facts and look through the statements, and you can have that lawyer's opinion forwarded on to the DRA. You're still going to have to let them make the decision. Nobody's going around making an end run on anything.
All right,
You're just doing one last thing for the voter.
all right.
And if you are turned down, then you're turned down. But if you sit here and don't do it, you're actually not doing something for the voters.
Okay, thanks for your opinion, I appreciate it. Let's,
Get back to the-
let's get back to the agenda. Town administrator update.
So I have prepared a sealed bid for the painting of the connector between the library and the town hall, which was budgeted this year out of,
Bless you.
I believe the town hall, town hall renovations, improvements. They're supposed to come from the town hall improvements, capital reserve fund. I'd like to put it in the paper, I'll send it to the paper tomorrow. And I have also done what I'm looking for. 1 coat of paint, washing. I'd like to use Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore paint, cleaning the rubber foot molding, color to match existing colors. I think I hit the high points. If you guys take a look at the specifics. Cleaning up after themselves every day so it doesn't create a hazard. Yada, yada, yada. I'd also like to include them cleaning the windows but I'm not sure that a painting contractor would actually do that because those windows are deplorable.
We always used to have a young guy that did our windows. What was his name? Grover.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Grover?
Yep. He is still around, but,
Too much money for that.
well, I mean, we don't,
Yeah.
we'd
I
have
might
to pay
get
for it.
I might get a price from our cleaning company and see what they charge us to do it once or twice a year because they're gross.
Mhm.
So I'd like to put it in the paper and then
Good.
make the deadline the 21st, so you guys can award the bid on the 26th of July.
Yep, that's good. You good with everything else?
Looks good. Is it
It's
gonna
very
be,
thorough.
Yep.
yeah,
Better than the ones I'm doing.
it's gonna go out locally?
Goes out to everybody.
It goes in the paper.
Okay.
I don't have a list of painting contractors.
No, I'm not saying that, I just wanna make sure that it's we get more than one bid on it.
Well, I can look in the yellow pages and pick a few to send it to
That's
as
the,
well.
that's the route that I've been having to take. Nobody's reading it and
Yeah.
everybody's busy enough, they're not responding. So you have to go on, yes, there's a couple of local ones, I can give you a couple myself.
Okay, yeah, did you send out painting bids for the
Not
public
yet,
safety
no,
building?
not yet.
But do you have a list already of who you're gonna send it to? That I could kind of cheat on?
No, but I can give you the couple that I would send it to,
Okay.
that's no problem.
All right, that sounds good.
Yep.
So if I can get this in the paper this week, I think 3 weeks is plenty of time. It's a pretty simple bid.
Very good.
And I am gonna open the bids and just tabulate them for you and then bring you my recommendations so you're ready to go on the 26th. And then update on the L-chip window project. I met with Mr. Becker on Monday and he is gonna assist me in providing the measurements for the RFP for the windows. My plan right now would be to put the RFP out this summer and do the work either in the fall of 2017 or spring of 18. The grant is good, the L-chip grant is good until December of 2018. So depending on how long it takes him to get me the measurements and for me to, that RFP is much more involved than this one. It may, if it doesn't go out till late summer, I may not get it back until middle of fall, and I don't feel like we want the windows out on the second floor in October or November. So I may get them to guarantee the price into the spring of 18 and then do the work actually in 18.
Okay.
And that's my plan for that right now, and that is all I have.
Building permit releases?
Have one.
Is that what this thing is?
I read it in the,
All right. This is for the 140, which, oh, it's
Just ready to go.
$465.
Oh, yeah.
You have to vote on
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
fine.
Payment manifest. We have $137,932.18 treasury warrant. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
What are we voting on?
The treasury
Do you
warrant.
want to check that?
You wanna look at it?
Yeah, I'll go
It was a little
look
long
at it.
online.
Yeah, Charlie, you got me going.
I'm kicking it. Before the 11 o'clock milk.
This is the,
No clue. Ready?
yep. All in favor? Aye. There's no other one, usually there's two of them, I'm assuming this is the only one, right?
Yep.
It is, there's no payroll.
There's no payroll this week, payroll's next week. We're on an off week now because there's an extra.
The the board minutes for June 14th, 2017.
We need to do the clerks.
No, that's, we just signed that.
I just signed it, we don't pretty.
We were all there.
I make a motion, we approve.
Okay,
I read them thoroughly,
I'll second.
so you need to sign it.
I had one set of non-publics here that you sealed, that I need signed as well.
Last meeting.
And when we accept this, we accept all the non-public minutes? Is
I
that
think
right?
that's what your motion says.
Then make that
There
motion.
was
and
one
we accept
non-public
all of them.
sealed.
Okay.
This is a seal.
Mrs. Twombley made a motion to accept all board minutes, even the non-public. I'll second that.
This is just for last week's.
June 14th.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I think we've had a work session in this, so I think we're gonna skip that, huh?
Yeah.
Do we have anything to go into non-public?
The last.
No, we have,
Took care of it, right?
Yes.
do we have, minutes that we should seal tonight, or is that the next?
You already voted. Did you vote to seal them? Or do you need to do that in the open? Okay, so you need to make a motion to seal,
Which numbers?
was it 4, 5, and 6?
I thought it was just one.
We had one when I anticipated what I had. Should have even had, I heard you say the last three.
It was the last 3, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that weren't. 6, 7, 6, 7, and 8 are the ones that you're sealing.
Okay, I make that motion?
I'll second it.
Which ones?
6, 7, and 8.
Motion needs to be 6, 7, or 8.
She makes it.
That's it.
No,
I'll
Six,
make
seven,
that
eight.
motion.
Okay.
6, 7, and 8. Yep.
Okay.
And second?
Second.
All in favor? Which is
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call on the ceiling?
No, you just need 2/3.
Do we have to do a roll call then, you know?
Said no, she said no.
Okay.
Not for sealing, you just need 2/3.
2/3
You need a
vote.
roll call and you need, roll call for everybody to go into non-public.
Okay. We don't have to go into non-public now, right? So I think we're good.
Yeah, we did them all, that's why there were 8 of them.
She will stay about.
Yeah, I forgot I had it, couldn't sign it.
Treasurer's report. He skipped over if you went to,
Is that the
You don't do
only
anything
hang on
with
it?
Is it, okay.
That's just a report.
I send you a more detailed one when she issues it.
Did you have anything from the Selectmen's work session? or did
I
you
think
just-
we've extinguished that. That was a pretty big debate.
I guess so.
I'm good with
So am I sending Mr. Denley's comments from this meeting to DRA?
No.
I got a little confused there at the end.
Yeah, I think so. Was confusing.
I got a little confused there in the middle too. And at the beginning.
No,
No, this is clear.
oh, yeah, just stick with what you all agreed on and go with it.
Nino made it clear.
Yeah, I got you, All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. No.
Thanks for coming.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.